So, good evening. This podcast has to do with just some other details that I've learned about Daniel and Daniel Darlick, who I believe is responsible for Missy Bevers' murder. And again, if you haven't seen my original video, how I solved Missy Bevers' murder, I you really need to watch that before you watch this. It'll answer a lot of questions. Um, but this is Daniel, and this is the man that I believe is responsible. Now, recently, the chief of police in Midlothian announced that he believed that someday they'll know the story of what happened uh, because of technology. And that made me change my mind. I did not think they had DNA evidence. But when he said that, it made me realize, oh, they really do have DNA evidence. Because if technology uh, will solve the case, that to me that can only mean DNA. And so, and the reason I didn't think they had DNA evidence initially is because they didn't know if it was a man or a woman, and so I thought, well, they don't have DNA. But that was right at the beginning, and it took months, I'm sure, to get the DNA analysis done. And so by the time they got the analysis done, they didn't want to announce whether it was a man or woman because then that would have told, you know, everyone that they had DNA evidence, and that's not something they wanted to let out. I don't imagine. And so I'm actually of the firm believer now that they do have DNA evidence. But the problem that they're up against is that Daniel is from the Czech Republic. His mom still lives in the Czech Republic. Um, Now his dad lives in Houston. His dad's, what, 74, lives in Houston, Texas. And it would be very easy to just check when his garbage gets picked up and go collect his garbage, and you'll have his dad's DNA. And I promise you, you'll when you do his DNA, you'll discover that he's the father of the murderer. And and really, if you don't do that, I mean, Daniel lives in Germany. You're not going to go. I know you're not going to go all the way to Germany to check him. But it'd be really easy to go check his dad's trash. Now, Daniel does have an aunt and uncle that live in Texas, and three cousins that I can tell. But you know, the likelihood of them submitting their DNA for some reason is pretty slim, and so it might be another 40 years before his cousins have kids, and maybe one of them submits their DNA, and then you can do, you know, genetic genealogy and discover that it was Daniel. But by then, we'll be long gone, and Daniel will probably be dead by then. So I don't think you're gonna have a satisfactory outcome if it takes 40 years to learn what happened. So I there has to be an investigator that really wants to leave no stone unturned and that really wants to solve this case. And I would, if I was an investigator, I would want the credit of having solved the Missy Bevers case. How many world renowned cases are you going to get in your lifetime? One. The answer is one. You're only going to get one case that has this kind of recognition and and so I would hope someone, some investigator at some point, would want to have that recognition to have, to solve this case. And I guarantee you, um, guarantee you that when you get Henry Darlick's DNA, it will prove that he was the father of the killer. Okay. Um, so just some other details that I think are interesting. Now, I didn't show this last time, that him actually walking, but that's Daniel walking. But what's really interesting is seeing him biking. And so here's Daniel in the background. I'm going to play this a second time. And I'm going to try to pause it while he's biking. But you can see, look, have you ever seen anybody bike like that before? Oops, pressed it just at the wrong time. His feet are very much splayed out. And anyway. So Daniel definitely has been injured at some point, and um, and I believe he was injured while he was skateboarding, and you can see even skateboarding his feet are like that. Um, this is him recently skateboarding, but I believe that's how he got injured. Um, all right. Oh gosh, there we go. So years ago, I'd asked investigators to look at Daniel's jacket and shoes, and and you know, for blood splatter. And Daniel didn't get rid of his jacket or his shoes. In fact, I had asked in 2017 investigators to look at that, and they failed to, obviously. Um, but this is his blue jacket, the one that he wore in the church. And this is 2 years later. This is in 2019. He's still got this jacket, and I guarantee you, there's blood splatter on this sleeve right here that we're looking at. Now there wouldn't be here because he was wearing a vest, that his police vest. But Daniel's right-handed, and there would be blood splatter right here where we're looking, and it would have been just a matter of, examining that jacket, and they would have found blood splatter. Um, Same for his shoes. This is also in 2019. So he held on to his shoes as well. And these are his, brown leather shoes that he wore in the church. Same thing, blood splatter. All right. Moving on. So Daniel, I believe, when he went to college in Tulane University, and I believe he went to architectural school because he was there for 6 years, and he they have an architecture program, and so that's the right time that it takes to get an architectural license. And so this is Daniel's architectural license, his professional license, which he got in 2017. And he also, I believe, has a contractor's license as well. He has one other license. I believe it's a contractor license. I could be wrong about that. And so, um, was I going to mention about this? Well, just the fact that if you go on Build Zoom, you can see information about his license, and this is some jobs that he did um, at, as some contracting jobs, and so this is why I said that Daniel um, had done construction work in the past because he's uh, done a number of contractor type jobs, and it makes sense that he would have had those tools. Now he's since moved on. You know, he's got a new profession now. He's an excellent artist, one of the best tattoo artists I've ever seen, and so he's happy doing his new job. Um, whoops. So he met his girlfriend, I believe, at the beginning of 2019 in Germany, and you can see from Zillow that um, he this is his 26th Street house. He he initially put it up for sale, uh, and then he removed. Apparently, it didn't sell. I don't know. I And then he listed it for rent. Again, he removed that listing, and so he's tried to sell it a number of times, and just hasn't been able to sell it for whatever reason. And I don't know if he's currently renting it out, or if he just held on to it and has a place to stay when he goes back to Texas. I can't quite understand what has gone on there, but um, but certainly this kind of makes sense that he was trying to get rid of his house in 2019 because that's when he met his girlfriend and started. Um, he had to have gone back and forth a number of years because he was still doing some jobs in Texas a couple years later. Um, but eventually, in the last few years, recently, he's opened his tattoo parlor, and now he does that full time. There's no doubt that's what he's committed to now. So that's just some things I've been working on, trying to kind of piece together his history, and so I really hope that law enforcement um, takes a look at his dad's DNA. I truly believe they have DNA that would solve this case now, and but if they don't, um, it'll be another 40 years before someone in his family. It was my family. I have a billion cousins, and they would they had this solved on day one, and most of us do. Most of us have extended family, but he's pretty unique in that he's moved over here. So surely they know that this his DNA is bohemian, right? I mean that they have that kind of technology now where they can tell that he was from the Czech Republic. Um, Surely or at least in that area, that DNA is advanced so much that they kind of know where you're from now. And um, so I, I hope that law enforcement does it, but Otherwise, we'll all be waiting for another 40 years before this case gets solved. And I don't think any of us want that. All right. Thank you for your time.